I am shook. No, I am in not even disbelief, in awe. I am impressed because a Giga Chad has appeared. We have the world first 100 tier Nightmare Dungeon clear on a Whirlwind Barbarian, making it look easier than the Hammer the Ancient one, because this guy killed a boss. The other guy did not kill a boss. So this is pretty crazy. So we're going to get into this right now. So first we have to give a huge shout out to Jung Bo, Korean, not YouTuber, but this is his YouTube channel, complete Giga Chad, like I said. So huge shout out to this guy. I'm going to post a link to his channel, to the videos we're going to go over today, but this guy did a tier 100. You're hearing me correct. Tier 100. Whirlwind Barbarian clear. We're going to go over the build. I have it in game. Actually, let me just go back in game really quickly to make sure my character doesn't, you know how it is, logging out because we're idle. We don't want that. So let's just take a look at this run here. So as we can see on the right here, tier 100. Absolutely crazy here. The first thing you're going to notice, if you can see, it might be a little bit hard to see because of the coloration of this video, but I mean, he's dodging every single projectile coming at him, which obvious, you're going to have to do this, but he's using kick, which is amazing. So kick is great for a few reasons. One, it's a 4-second, yes, you heard me right, a 4-second vulnerability proc. So if your pressure points don't proc, once exploit runs out, all of that good stuff, you have an additional 4 seconds you can use. So far, I mean, the run, smooth. Fairly easy to say. He's hitting for some big numbers. He obviously has really good gear. We can go over his total, but 2.3 million. I mean, I'm sure this guy's gear is simply amazing. I did my due diligence and I translated everything I could with someone who's obviously much more familiar and comfortable with Korean than I am, because I am not, by the way. So he's taking a lot of damage here, which respectable. The one good thing about the dungeon he's doing is you don't have to face a lot of elites. You can kind of run by them because there are very few classes in this game that are working properly. There are some pretty busted classes, but as you can see there, 3 million damage just popped up. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see a 4 million at some point, if I remember correctly. But so this is like the perfect dungeon, right? You don't have to fight elites, like I said. There was one right there. You ran right by it. You can run straight. He is going to have to kill this, but this is like the dream dungeon. This is the dungeon I want. After seeing this, I'm going to make this build. I'm going to min-max it as best as I possibly can. And I'm going to see if I can get this dungeon or another dungeon similar to this. Because what you will notice as you see him spinning to win, that's what I like to see. People said Hammer the Ancients was the best for pushing. This guy just proved everybody wrong. Yes, you're going to get the big numbers from Hammer the Ancients, but the fact that this guy killed the boss and the other 100 clear did not kill a boss, it's clear which one's superior, which is going to be the spin to win. So after you do this, goes to the pedestal, grabs another bloodstone. He did get an artillery shrine somewhere, which helped him out a ton. And I mean, this isn't like a, oh, this is kind of a cheap run. If you see one of those shrines, you hit the jackpot. Your runs are fast. I mean, look at this. This is a 7-minute and 30-second video here. So if we skip ahead to the end, I'm going to let you guys watch this on your own, so to make sure this guy gets views, because this is crazy impressive. So now he's at the point where he's at the second stage of the dungeon here, and he's about to enter the boss. Now he is the boss on a separate video here. So this isn't a 2-hour run. He's not using that cheese aspect with the bubble that procs once you get hit below healthy. This guy's full Giga Chad mode, blasting through this content. As you can see, level 154 mobs here. So now we're going to go to the boss fight. This is a ton of fun to watch. I'm going to show a bit of it just because I enjoy it so much, but I think I've watched this like 5 times, and that's just the Barb enjoyer inside me. So he's doing this. Look at the stagger bar. It's already almost halfway through. So we have an insane stagger bar. If you do look to the right here, he did die twice, but like, it's a 100. This is the hardest content in the game. Uses the kick for increased vulnerable uptime here. And now these ads are so dangerous. You see that blood splatter? If he gets hit with that, I don't even think he survives, even with challenging shout, all of his shouts up, and the iron skin, iron blood, whatever it's called, that barrier. I don't know if he can live that. So he's playing this really smart here. He's waiting for the ads to appear, then he's using his shouts here. Now he has the boss vulnerable and staggered. He uses the kick to extend it for 4 seconds. Brilliant build. Brilliant, brilliant build. Dodging, you have to dodge. You cannot face tank this. Again, he's holding off and he's waiting with the shouts here for the ads to spawn. As soon as he sees them, he's going to dash towards the boss. There it is. Dodges the blood pools. There it is. I know I said there it is twice, 3 times, but I don't know. This is just so impressive. It's fun to watch this guy play. I'm hyped to try this out. I really am hyped to try this out. You can kind of see him baiting the auto attacks here with the iron skin. Waiting for those ads once again here. He did use 1 shout, 2, 3, he knows it's coming. And now he's just pumping. So this fight, obviously, it takes a while. Bosses are going to take a while. If you're brave enough to fight a boss in a 100, don't expect to one-shot it. Unless you're using one of those like busted builds that are clearly not working properly here. So definitely check. I'll link both of these videos, of course. And the one where he goes over his gear, even though I'm going to do that for you as well in English. But if you know Korean, definitely check that out as well. Alright, so one thing to make clear, this isn't going to be a, per se, build guide for his build, and it's his build, right? It's, no matter how you look at it, it's this guy's build. Never seen it before, no one's done 100 before. I mean, I could be wrong. Someone could have done 100 on a Whirlwind and I don't know about it, but it's unlikely. It really is unlikely. So he did a lot of interesting things in the talent tree, and I want to go over that here because a lot of complaints were, oh, there's, and he does have this change, so let me make that. People were saying, oh, there's no customization to the skill tree, it's boring. Terrible take. Terrible, terrible take. So he has lunging strike because he needs to, he does not use it at all. He takes violent whirlwind. He has 3 points into pressure point because even though it's a low chance to proc with the lucky hit, you still need to fish for that RNG for sure when pushing here. So all of this is the same and pretty standard with Violent Whirlwind with the mace build, but he took points out of Rallying Cry because you're dodging so often that once you use your shouts, it's easy to keep up your rage. You will notice this if you're endgame, you have all the proper rolls, resource gen, fury cost reduction, fury on crit, fury on kill. Once you have all of those things, you're set. He takes enhanced rallying, tactical rallying cry. This is the crazy part. He takes challenging shout. He has +3 in the chest. I do not, which is something I'm going to try without. I'll see if I need it in the end. But he does not take enhanced challenging shout, nor does he take tactical challenging shout. Now, why would he do that? This is really smart and something that I should have figured out, but I didn't. You do not want to be taunting mobs in a Nightmare Dungeon 100. Why don't you want to be doing that? Because if they're, whatever it's called, AI, pathing, whatever, isn't focused on you, that's good. If they're doing one of those things where they're running in circles and pathing off into the distance, that's okay. You don't want them focusing you and hitting you all at once. That is a death sentence. So huge Gigabrain. Really impressed by that. He has the baseline 3/3 for Iron Skin. I was calling it Iron Blood, which I definitely messed up because that's the name of the aspect. So he's using 3 from the neck contribution so you can save all the points there. And then, of course, we have Kick. Throws a powerful kick. Enemies who are knocked back into terrain take an additional X amount of damage and are stunned for 3 seconds. Then you get the multiplier from the stun with the bludgeon weapon, which we'll get into later on. And then enhanced kick. Damaging enemies with kick makes them vulnerable for 4 seconds. Huge uptime here. He's taking 1 point into Warcry, enhanced Warcry, and then Mighty Warcry. Probably wouldn't take Mighty Warcry. Mostly because of what I figured out with Warbringer in my previous, or 2 videos ago in the Ramallah one-handed Whirlwind guide. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out here. I'm not sure if this is the right call, but listen, it worked for him, so who am I to question anything he's done? I'm definitely going to try to min-max this as best as I can, but It's fairly safe to say he did an incredible job because he has the 100 clear and I do not. So I definitely want to test the difference between Power Warcry and Mighty Warcry, just in case there are some crazy situations where this extra damage for 6 enemies would help a ton, but Mighty might be the play here. It takes 3 out of 3 Booming Voice, 3 out of 3 in Raid Leader. You can definitely understand where the heal will come into. This does heal you, in fact, even though the tooltip doesn't say it, it does. Then he takes, this is what I'm curious about though, he doesn't take Guttural Yell, which is 12% damage reduction for 5 seconds for shouts. This I'm curious about, because that's a ton of damage reduction. And maybe he just figured out by taking out the points in Rallying Cry, he needed an extra source of multiplicative Fury gen, so he has 1 point here and then 3 points here in Prolific Fury, but I'm very curious as to his not taking Guttural Yell pick here, because, like I said, this is a very strong talent. And then he did something that shocked me. He took 3 into Pit Fighter, and then 3 into Slaying Strike. So why is this interesting? If you've ever played Whirlwind, you know that you have your initial burst window of 3 seconds with the vulnerable, and then if you don't kill enemies, what do? You kind of have to prey on pressure points. The kick is a pretty small cone in front of you, so it's not like you're doing an AoE vulnerable. So what he realized is, why not get multiplicative damage to finish off the enemies who may not have vulnerable on them? Which is brilliant, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. Another thing I was completely taken away by and impressed by. So this is going to be interesting for pushing for sure. Again, disclaimer, if you see this, don't copy this build if you're not pushing like 95 plus with Whirlwind. I'm telling you right now, there are better builds that can get you through the 80s with Whirlwind. This is like a gigabrain, high octane, top tier gamer talent tree that I'm going to deep dive into even further than I already have. So really impressed with Slaying Strike. I like that a lot. He also took additional DR here, which is why I was curious, because increased the damage reduction gained while you are fortified by an additional 6%, but this is actually 12% total. So maybe he's doing something where he's dipping into certain DR pools. If you know about EHP, which is kind of like survivability scaling, maybe he knows something. I don't know, it's just an interesting choice, and of course counter-offensive with the 1 point into Thick Skin here. All of this is cool. Then he has the typical 3 Heavy Hand, 3 While Up, and then 3 Concussion. Concussion, while you can't stun bosses, it is crazy for the stagger bar. So that's the good news. And then finally, Unbridled Rage, obviously. For the Paragon, I did not switch to his Paragon tree, but I opened up a notepad and I wrote down his glyphs after they were translated for me. Wrath, to be expected. Undaunted, which you don't see too often, Exploit, Territorial, Martial, and Might. I'm curious as to why he did not take, what's it called? I actually have to go into game and find this now. It is the one that gives you damage reduction on, not this one, not this one. Where you at? Where you at? Higher, yes, right here. So increased damage while berserking, and while berserking, take 10% reduced damage from elites. Now that I see it, I kind of understand why I didn't take it, because you're going to be avoiding, if you can, every single elite outside of that artillery pylon that he got, where he just blasted through a bunch of elites. So maybe this is why he didn't take this, but this is generally a really good source of damage reduction if you are going to and don't want to kind of limit yourself on the map pool to go for those major elite pushes, right? So really strong 6 here, and like I said, I will, if you're curious about what his specific Paragon board is, I am going to do some research, min-max it as best as I can, see what he's doing compared to what I'm doing for when I plan to go for a push for Whirlwind, and we'll see what happens. As far as aspects, Numbing Wrath, obvious. Iron Blood, insanely strong. If you don't know what Iron Blood is, I'll show you in game because I am using it. Iron Blood gain 4%, which is really going to be 20% damage reduction when nearby enemies are bleeding. Now his only source of bleed, from what I could see, was Berserk ripping on his gloves. He did not have the sword aspect. He had no source of bleed on his weapon. He had the axe technique, or expertise, whatever you want to call it. So he was only getting that effect while berserking, but you're berserking pretty often, and when you're not berserking, you're running. Like, you are booking it. Disobedience on the neck, to be expected. Dire Whirlwind. Retribution on the two-hand. Berserk Ripping on the gloves, like I said. I wasn't sure about taking Ghostwalker on the boots. I probably would have preferred to take Anemia, for even though it's a lucky hit chance, any chance to stun, in my personal opinion, and I found the testing to be fruitful for me, I would have gone with this. But again, it's hard for me to even speculate on what this guy did, because he got it done. Are there better ways? Probably down the line we'll find one, but he did it first, so credit where credit is due. Then we have Limitless Rage in the weapon, of course, Echoing Fury, Bold Chieftains on the ring, of course, Edgemasters, and then Ironclad. If you don't know what Ironclad is, it's, I believe, up to 20%, which it may have been recently buffed, but I think it's 20 or 25% damage reduction when you have Iron Skin. When you use it, you get an additional DR, which is good because it's a good, like, hold you over from any danger until challenging showers back up. However, if it's an elite or something that's like a lethal projectile, you're going to die regardless. So those are his aspects. Those are his glyphs. That was his gameplay. I still can't get over it when I saw it. I was floored, completely floored. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, huge shout out to Chungbo. Crazy impressive. Definitely check out his video. Give him a like, a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to follow one of the best Whirlwind players at this moment for what he's accomplished. And yeah, that's going to conclude this video. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next upload.